Hey guys, day 63, returned from Pune, and yeah, that was a hell of a drive. The first 3 hours were pretty slow going, well, actually pretty smooth going. There was no traffic getting there. Once we got there, I actually took my driver to lunch. Obviously, he just drove 4 hours. I'm not going to have the guy sit in the car while I have lunch, do some shopping, and then drive 4 hours home. So invited him to lunch, kind of get some some company. It's good times, and he'd never been to a Hard Rock Cafe, and I shouldn't say obviously, but you could tell it's his first expression, like American music, American overload with all the flair and the get up, and it was actually kind of funny. I didn't realize that most people don't, or some people don't know who the fuck Elvis is. I said it, screw it, I don't care. So we're actually sitting next to this huge display case, which they actually have one of the exclusive pieces of Elvis's stage clothing. And I was like, oh man, that's really cool. That's when I was looking in the rock. If you've ever been to Hard Rock, you know that they have the icons. And when you open up the icons booklet, there's a few items that are exclusively for that location that they don't trade. Which a lot of times they'll swap product between the Hard Rocks just to keep it fresh, whatever. But I found out that the icons was they had 3 icons pieces. One was Elvis's stage get up, and it was this real long like overcoat, but typical Elvis like flair, like studs and all this kind of crap. And I was like, oh, that belonged to Elvis Presley. And the driver's like, he must have been really rich. And I stopped and think for a minute. I'm like, well, why do you say that? He's like, it's a very fancy outfit and very expensive. I was like, yeah, that's Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. And he looked at me and he didn't comprehend. And I was like, a very famous American musician. They called him the king of rock and roll. So trying to explain Elvis to this guy, and he's like, oh, okay. You could tell he didn't get it or just didn't give a shit. But I was totally shocked that he didn't know who Elvis was. So other than that, we had a decent lunch, and actually bought him his first Hard Rock t-shirt, because you can't go to a Hard Rock and not get your first Hard Rock shirt. So yeah, I just made a good time out of a 8-hour trip for lunch. So I got my Zippo, I got a couple pins, got some t-shirts. What else am I going to do in India but shop? So but I think the most interesting part of the trip wasn't the Hard Rocker. The guy didn't know who Elvis was. It was the shit that I learned on the way home. So he was telling me about, I guess, the area of Pune is a very big religious section of this guy Osho. And he's like essentially the equivalent of like the American evangelists, preacher guys that are like, have the big channels, own 4 jets, give them money to be close to God, like all that bullshit. I guess that's this guy. But I guess he's got a bunch of European followers, very rich. They spend a lot of money. This guy had a couple jets. He died, and I guess they're still following his practice. And practice of what? Throwing your money away for belief of what? I don't get it. But I'm not going to get into an argument of religion here, because y'all are going to get me started. So you know how I feel. But not only that, but then he's talking about the fact that they're going to start opening strip clubs in India again, that they closed them because of the extra items that happen there. I can only imagine. The shit I can buy for $1, the extra stuff at a strip club doesn't surprise me. But he continued to say how actually pretty much prostitution is legal in India. And it's not that it's necessarily legal. Ain't nobody going to do shit about it. So he was explaining that, and he's like, oh, if you want to go somewhere, we'll get you taken care of. We'll get you somebody in the car. Like, no, bro, I'm good. Nah, I don't need no Indian hooker. Sorry, I'm good. But then just all the other stuff, and he was explaining this business that they have, and it's hard to explain, and I'm not really going to go into it because I don't need to get involved in some shit that I shouldn't be involved in. But at first it sounded like it really made sense, like the way he was explaining it, the way the math works. Basically a bunch of guys get together, they throw some money into a pool, everybody takes turn taking the pool, and at the end of the cycle, everybody gets the same amount of money, everybody's paid in. It's kind of like this little team loan banking shit they got going on, but no interest, nobody takes a cut. The problem is, after really like listening to them and asking a lot of questions about how it works and the math processes behind it, I put it in an Excel just to see how up and up it was. And if it stayed at a steady pace by the way the guy explained it, the first 7 people lose money. The last guy to take a cut gets paid. So I think some shady shit's going on, but maybe I didn't understand the math. Maybe I did. So I don't know. If I get a chance to talk to him about it again, I will. But those are just a couple of the many things that we talked about on the 4-hour drive home. And yeah, man. I mean, this place is insane. It's some of the most wild shit that I've ever been privy to. That's not like gotten me shanked in the middle of the day, being in the wrong side of town. If any of you followed me on Facebook for a while, you know there's a story about 4 years back that I posted about running into the Japanese or Chinese mob in Chicago and stumbling into one of their casinos, or illegal casinos, or little gambling house. And like 3 days after being followed by what probably was the Yakuza around Chinatown in Chicago for about 3 blocks, till I think they finally got bored or realized that we weren't feds. A couple days later, they got raided, and I won't be surprised if our picture is hanging up in some Yakuza hit house just waiting for us to show back up in Chinatown one day. So I ain't been there since. But yeah, India's about the equivalent, man. I mean, this country's buck fucking wild. And it's no joke. There's a lot of shit that happens here, and a lot of shit you can do for the right price. So this trip's just getting better and better. You guys know the drill. Like the video, like the Facebook page, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit me up with questions or comments, and we'll see you back in the U.S.